started.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Up on Toppenish. My name is Sean Davidow, and this is a very special edition. It's our Veterans Day edition, and I have my very special guest and friend, John Smith. Thank you for joining me today, John.
You're welcome.
All right. Now, I want to talk about your service, of course. That's the main focus of our program today. I do want to talk a little bit about Toppenish and just the good old days, but we'll get to that after we talk about veterans and your service. You had mentioned to me you had several ranks, and you served in many branches of this service. Can you start from the top? Give me a list of your ranks and service.
The main thing was I flunked the test in 1958 for the Air Force. My older brother and I, we ran away from home. We had a very strict father who was a preacher, and so no cussing, no drinking, no smoking, no racial slurs, no gambling, and so we had to shine some shoes and keep everything going, go to church, wear our Sears suits on Sundays that was ordered through the mail, and so my two brothers and my four sisters, we all had to go and sing in the church and all of that, Sunday school and evening service, invite the preacher, but he didn't like chicken, so once in a while when we had chicken, he'd go to the hamburger place and get a hamburger. So it was pretty good. It was during the 50s. And so in 59, well, first of all, I flunked the 8th grade. Miss Q, and she didn't like my antics. And so she had me stay in just before the close of the cafeteria, because she'd be sitting there eating, you could hear her eating her eating her lettuce. And so finally she flunked me on the 8th grade, so I had to do the 8th grade twice and just about cried, man. But 8th grade was better for me as a male teacher, and in fact I was voted the vice president of the class. I don't know why, but anyway. So finally in I played in the Toppenish High School band as a drummer. My older brother played the tuba. My younger brother Jim played the trombone. So Paul, John, and Jim. And we did go to Wenatchee and had, I think, over 100 and something in the band. So we did great things at one time, played in Toppenish and down the street and all of that. Eventually, it was time to get out of Toppenish, because we would pick fruit and do whatever the family had to do. So, but eventually it was time to go. I started writing a song about shoe shining blues. Mm-hmm. All I do is shine shoes all day long in the terrible heat, looking down at the customer's feet. Shoot, shine.
And you did that here in Toppenish?
Oh yeah, Daddy had my brothers and I shining shoes. The store building that now my nephew is buying is getting renovated. He ended up, Dad had Paul's Cash Market, and Mom would take all of us and make sure that we had a good family to chow down and all that. And she would also work in the store, and Dad would do things down in the store, but he would also work at the cannery. But before that, now Dad was a World War I veteran. He was 50 years older than me, and he served in the Pioneer Infantry. I don't know back then if it was segregated, but it was, anyways, his gravesite is out there at the Elmwood, and it has a veterans thing, and it says the information. But then he was a soldier, and eventually his father, his family was also Christian, and so we got some whippings, and I figured it's time to go here. So finally in 1959, after Dad did come in 58 and ask if I wanted to go back home, because he ran away from home when he was a teenager too. And then he ended up joining the Army and also was a porter on a train. And he was also did some telegraphing or something. There's a lot of history about him. He was born in 1911. No, my mother was born in 1911. He was born in 1891. So anyway, that's how Dad, he met Mom and fell in love. And so I was born and raised in the house. And Dr. Frank Shear came and delivered me. And he said when I didn't respond, he whacked me on the hiney, and I've been crying ever since. So,
So, were you born here in Toppenish?
In the house, yeah. When it was only
in the house.
Yes, it was only 3-room, and it had a cesspool outside, and it had chickens and whatever, and I think there was a cow in the back, and so I guess he finally had to get rid of the cow. But anyway, those things happened when I was crying, and so.
So, what was it like growing up in Toppenish back in the good old days, in the 50s and the 40s and the? You were born in 41.
41.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and you're 82 now.
Yes.
Okay. So
how I made it, I don't know.
Right. Well, tell us some of the stories. What was it like growing up in Toppenish back in those days?
Well, born and raised there years ago, the town is progressing kind of slow. It's busting loose, and pretty soon I'll say it's ready by next June. No, I wrote that song back in '79 when I was in between active duty and all of that. But I went to Lincoln School, and there was no problem, in my opinion. But the teacher, the principal, Mr. Bradley, when I found out later that he was a World War II veteran, a paratrooper, and an officer, I had to salute him later. So, but he would. I guess if a teacher said that you did something, they'd send you down, mostly the women teachers, and then you would get a whacking. And so bend over and, oh no. And he told me that I would move around too much. He was a good man. He ended up dying of cancer years ago. But Lincoln School was okay. I was a school patrol. And I thought at one time I wanted to be a police officer. And 2 young guys were fighting on the school lot. And I grabbed them by the back of the neck and took them down to the office. And I said, oh man, I was pretty stupid then. Because one guy later, he wanted to hurt me when he grew up a little bit. But Lincoln was pretty good, pretty good. My 4th year was my best one, because I still remember the songs that this one older lady, she taught us, who says the owl, who's afraid on Halloween? And I don't know if it was 26 miles on the Erie Canal or so many miles. And just some different songs I remember, just beautiful. And then, actually, she had to sing the song of the Marines, from the halls of Mount, from the halls of Mount. So that was the first service that I joined. Actually, the Marine Corps Reserve, and then some active, and then back to the Marine Reserve. And then I joined the Army paratrooper after I got my younger brother into the Marine Reserve. And I went as a super duper paratrooper and served in the Dominican Republic during the police action during 1965, and beating on that bass drum, twisting those bass drum sticks and all of that. Because the colonel, before we started it in Santo Domingo, had to go up through the hill, through the town, all climbing and twisting and turning. And we had a canteen on the right side, a bayonet on the left side, the M16 in the back, some ammunition in the front, and then I had a bass drum in the front. And the colonel said that I could really do a good job. He knew the band was going to do a good job, but wanted me to do a good job. And I figured, wow, I'm going to get a promotion. All I got was, because I got, and so anyway, at that time I did like everybody else was smoking. And if we had not stopped at that one part up through the city, I felt like throwing that bass drum. I was so worn out, and the other guys were boom, boom, beep, ticky, tick, tick, and all that. Oh man! But I was doing all the hard work, and so we had a smoke break, and then I found out that the guys that were playing the little ticky, ticky, boom, they got their their bayonets stolen by these young boys that were walking around. They didn't mess with me because I was boom, boom, bam, boom, 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 and all that stuff. So anyway, we finally walked down to the embassy. I marched down to the embassy. Man, I was worn out again. But it came out pretty good. And then we did a lot of things in the Dominican Republic. We played at the place where they have the children that, what do you call that? I can't remember.
It's in the Philippines?
No, this is in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, Dominican Republic, okay.
Yeah, what's the name of the place that they have the children that the parents don't want them?
Oh, an orphanage.
Orphanage,
yes,
yeah,
thank
you.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
right? I was trying to think, a cathedral? An orphanage, yes.
But we played there and played some good songs and all that, and then one of them I was twisting and boom, boom, boom. And then the children, they said, we'd like to have them play again, or whatever. They probably said it in Spanish, Yo no entendió. So anyway, I did my thing, and they were happy, yay! But yeah, we did all kinds of things. Played out in the sugarcane fields and other places, different ceremonies, and change of commands and all of that, and marched here and there from time to time, and did a little construction with the beating down a wall for some reason or something. And also the 82nd Airborne Division choir, they had some young men that were singing, put on your boots, 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 your parachutes, shoots. They had songs from way back there. And they'd be singing, Katie, beautiful Katie, you're the only girl that I adore. And when the moon shines over the cow shed, I'll be waiting at the kitchen door. No. Now, some say it was from World War I don't know. But anyway, they were really outstanding. And we went to this one theater, and they had a women's group, young women's group from Dallas, Texas, young pretty ladies, and they would be singing, we're from Big D, Del A, Del LES. And it was just an outstanding deal that time, 1965. But every now and then you hear, ching, and there'd be somebody trying to snipe at us and all that. So it was interesting. And finally, about 4.5 months later, we did go home. And then eventually in 19, oh boy.
That would have been 65, you were saying.
Yeah, 65. And then finally, I kept getting in trouble, getting busted and restricted and fined. I said, oh my God, I can't believe it. Because, yes, sir, aye, sir. No, not aye, sir. That was in the Navy. Right. Yes, sir, all the way, sir, airborne and all that. Brake starts and spit sandals, boots and all that stuff. You're walking down the street and you see an officer, all the way, sir. And they said, airborne. And I said, good, boogity woogity, what's wrong with this? And so you had to be really strapped in the 82nd Airborne Division and, be singing those songs when you get ready to jump. before you stand up, hook up, shuffle to the door, jump right out and count to 4. My main don't open, I'll pull my reserve. Reserve don't open, I'll lose my nerve. Now, if I die on the old job zone, box me up and send me home. Pin my wings up on my chest, bury me in a leaning rest. Here we go, all the way, here we go, every day, and that type of thing. You'd probably run about 3 miles or more or something like that. And you're looking pretty good. All right. But, I remember that when you get into the big iron bird, bo dilly bo, have you heard? We're going to jump on the big iron bird. So I jumped from C-119s, they call it the flying box cars, the 130, the 4-inch, and also the 120, no, not the 123. Let's see, the 119, the 130, the 124 is a two-story deal, and the 141s, the jets. So on the jets, you had to step out. On the others, you had to, say, get ready, stand up, hook up, check static line, check equipment. Make sure it's not wrapped around your neck. And sound off equipment check. And so the only one that didn't get hit on the hiney was the one in the back. And they'd slap you on the butt. Okay. And then finally, you get ready and the green light would come on. They say, stand in the door. And then stand there real tight. Go. And then 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. So you had one hand on the rip cord in case the static line didn't open. Pull the little chute, and then that big chute would come open, the T10, and it would come out real pretty. Wow, golly, gee whiz. And it looked like you're not floating. You are floating, but you're not moving at all. And back in Fort Benning, Georgia, it's like, good Lord, that is something else. Everything just so mellow. And it didn't seem like you were descending. And eventually, well, I guess I better get my feet and knees together. And because once you hit the ground, you're way up here with this. And the balls of the feet, the calves, the thighs, the buttocks, and the push-up muscles. And then once you hit, you got to pull in and then hit, shift, and rotate and get back up on your feet. So that was, you felt real good about that. So I said I wanted to be a super-duper paratrooper. And that, for me in 1963, going through a ride through the South, being born in Toppenish, wow, I don't know about this. And there was white only, colored only in these southern states. I said, I found out later we got a little bit of Irish and Native American, but I guess I'll be colored only today. And so we went and did our thing and kept the peace, and it was okay. I said, well, I'm not a guy that disturbs anything. I'll just be cool. But going through my military thing, finally in 1967, one of the guys came back from Viet Nam, and he had a sucking chest wound. I said, my God. His name was Harris. He said, Smitty, they treat you better in Vietnam over there. And I said, good God, I keep getting Article 15s, and I'm going AWOL and all that stuff. And I said, Lord, I need to get out of here. So I went to go to Vietnam, and they finally, so 1967, I got that, they say a whole list. Oh, there my name is on here. And they say, they treat me better. I'm gonna go to Vietnam. And so they put me in the infantry, because at that time, I got out of the band, and I was doing some cooking, and I was a DRO for a while, and then I was a breakfast cook and a salad maker and all that stuff. But then when the staff sergeant that was in charge said that you're going to come in and lay out your stuff for IG inspection, oh my goodness! And I said, wow, we were having good days off. Why would? And he looked at my stuff, and it wasn't as clean as he thought it should be, and they wanted me to come back in. I said, well, I think I'll just take a little vacation. And so I took a little vacation at a friend's house and stayed for about 10 days. And so, well, maybe 9, because at one time I took a vacation for 1 day. So as it was, I ended up doing my thing, and I said to myself, when I go back, I'm just going to tell them to put me in a stockade. And then when I got back, people were saying, Smitty, you're the last guy we thought would ever go AWOL. But I went, and so then they finally gave me, I think it was 45 days restriction. No, that was later. That was in the Navy. There were so many times I got in trouble.
You were kind of a bad
No,
boy.
wait a minute. No, I didn't get in trouble in the Navy. I'm getting close, but I never got in trouble in the Navy. The Army was the only one. Army is super duper paratrooper type thing. But yeah, I ended up having later to serve 10 days bad time after I came back from Vietnam. And I'm still, I still hear noises once in a great while, but it recovered very quickly. But I don't know. I was in the infantry, going through the rice paddies and jungles and seeing some snakes every now and then, and flying squirrels and different things. Even those leeches like to crawl on you, just kind of. And it had a little head, and boom, where are you going? And then, oh, I'm bleeding. I didn't even know they were there. And then, take this tissue off your, or the insect repellent, and it'd fall. And okay, I give them a 9.5 or something. But you would be bleeding a little bit, and you take your little tissue for other purposes, and wherever they were bleeding, you put that on, and it stopped coagulating. So it was different, going through a lot of stuff, and it'd be, hearing some and zip, and they'd miss. My 26th birthday was in September 19th, and I said, oh boy, nobody cares. I mean, it was a firefight, so I figured I'm not going to ask anybody to say happy birthday to you, because and even the incoming, where they had stuff that would, from our own folks that were flying aircraft, and they'd drop little bombs, and you could whoop, 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 whoop. You could hear that shrapnel that was coming close to you, and if they splat you might get a Purple Heart, but if you maybe a posthumous type thing. So I said, no, I don't want that. So one time I remember we were getting close to crossing the bridge. Before that, there was a woman and 2 children, and anyway, this one guy, one of our soldiers, sir, he was talking to the lieutenant, said, I killed him. I said, oh my God, in my heart I said, God, don't let him do that. And the lieutenant, he must have heard me. He said, no, don't kill him. So he left him alone. But yeah, we'd have to, some of our guys were just, got to get that body count. But thank God I didn't have any body counts, so otherwise I'd be probably having real bad dreams or something. So combat was something else. I mean, that's where I caught malaria. It was 3 days and 2 nights during the Tet Offensive. Before that, I was using my rifle as a crutch because my knee messed up. One guy pushed me and one guy pulled me, and when my left knee messed up, I had to use, check that bad boy, make sure I got this on safe, single shot, and rock and roll, automatic, but okay, I kept it on safe, but I had to use it because I had that big radio at that time. At one time, I was the assistant machine gunner, and we had the machine gun stuff, and one time we set up an ambush. Nobody came. Well, that was nice. The other team was saying, well, so, and then one of the guys that was a machine gunner, his name was Matthias, real nice guy. He was talking about going back to college, and he ended up, I laid not too close to him because I had to feed the machine gun ammo to him, but nobody came. But he ended up getting shot along with other guys, and then he died in the hospital some days later because it was they said he died of dehydration. I wonder how. I think he got hit in the face and in the groin area. And so it's like, oh, jeez, I don't know. It really hurt when they said Matthias died. And so then they ended up trying to take us over a river. And they had everybody, this is the next day, the day after the firefight. And then they had a young real nice-looking Vietnamese woman, and we had to go right by her because we had to resupply. But this young man was standing there with a rifle, kept her by her, and the officers and high enlisted, everybody walked by, and then you heard a pow, and you knew what happened. What do you think happened? He blew her away, and it's like, oh my God. So then we're trying to. They had the swimmers, hide the guy wires and all that going across this river. And eventually, this one real outstanding Sergeant First Class, E7, he was helping another guy, and somehow he went downstream. There's about 4 or 5 guys that drowned that day. And so eventually, the water came up so high that they called in helicopters to take us up to higher ground. And that night, that song, when you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark, that came to me when I couldn't find my position because it was so dark and the river was down below us. And had we been there, we would have all drowned because it became a flood. And anyway, that was one of the experiences I remember. So, yeah, there's others. But finally, I did come back on an airplane, C-141, and it was about 12 caskets out of Tonsanut. At that time, that's what it's called. And it was 12 caskets from colonel, steel caskets down to private. So I wrote a thing called Death is Not Prejudice. So I wrote 3 pieces of poetry and 9 songs. And one of the songs was, Uncle Sam is all right, but his in-laws and outlaws are out of sight. So, but anyway, I finally came back to the States, and then I was waiting on my orders at home. My mother and my 4 sisters, they all hugged me when I got out of the taxi, and just beautiful, beautiful. I'm waiting on my orders, and then I got my orders, and it says, 82nd Airborne Division Band, headquarters. I said, oh no, I about cried. God, I didn't want to be a super duper paratrooper anymore. I was going to be a leg. You know, if you didn't have wings, you were a leg. I don't know what that really meant. Didn't have those boots and all that stuff. But they sent me right back to the place that I was praying to get out of. And so I was very, very lucky because I just about got in trouble again. And so I said, forget it. And so about for 3 years and 10 months or something like that, I ended up not being associated with any military. And then I ended up going back to the Marine Reserve. And so they made me, well, they let me keep the E4 part, the corporal. The Spec 4, they just gave me E4 so they didn't drag me down. Because in the Army, when I joined the Army, they took me down one, and then later when I went to the Navy, from sergeant, they took me to seaman. I said, good Lord, what is wrong with these people? Because you hear about some people getting lateral, and especially the officers, if they want them, they just keep them and maybe build them up. But we little dinky guys, I guess, are ones that aren't as important. They say, well, we're going to do it our way, and private, get over here or something. So then I joined the Marine Reserve again, and then I became a tanker, M48A1, because I was, when I first Marine Reserve thing in 1960, after 59 and 60, then it was the Ontos, the anti-tank, 6.106 recordless rifles, and then 4 50 caliber machine guns, spotter rifles, and then 130 caliber machine gun, and you'd have to traverse like this and elevation like that, but it flip on the and all, like Star Wars way back then. It's a good boogity woogity. What is this? So you'd drive and you're all over the place, and it's good. So it was interesting. And then later, when I did go back to the Marines, it was M48A1s they had. I think prior to that, they did had either howitzers or something. But my younger brother ended up, he made sergeant, so he did a good job. But I did all of that, and then I finally became a reserve recruiter, and they put me up to sergeant, get that real sharp. And so I ended up going back on active duty, and I was in the tanks. Then I auditioned to get into the the 1st Marine Division band, and that was in 76, 77, 78, something like that. And I did march in the the 1st Marine Division band with 3 other bands. There's El Toro, there was San Diego, and some other band. So it was a 120 band that marched in the Pasadena parade. So I was playing the bass drum and another bass drummer, so we're doing about 5.2 miles in Pasadena. Boom, 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 and boom, boom, and all that stuff. And it came out really good. And then eventually I did another one, I think either 77 and 78. And then I wasn't doing something right or something, or had a medical problem. And so they sent me back to the tanks. And so I got out of, went home, and then I joined the Yakama unit again. And then finally, they wouldn't promote me to staff sergeant after I was starting to drive taxi in Yakama. So I would be driving 12 hours a day, and then I'd be going to the meetings on once a month, and then they didn't promote me to staff sergeant, so I went to Whidbey Island. And then that was a helicopter unit, and then eventually it became a P6 or P3 unit, I think. It was it had a sonar dome and also a tail thing in the back there, or it had to be in the back, I guess. I don't know. It's been a while. But I ended up studying for the Navy test, and I said, and I did pass. Did not a great high score, but they said, well, you can get anything you want. Because a buddy of mine named Pete Pescador, that was a reserve, he was an E8, and then he was a recruiter in Yakima, and he said the fastest way into the military is to go through boot camp. And I said, oh boy. So I said, okay. So I did.
You're what age at this point?
I was 40.
You're 40 years old.
Yes.
And you're joining the Navy at that.
Good. Boogity woogity. I said, wow, I've already been through boot camp when I turned 17. And I was 18 when I went through boot camp. My parents had to sign, and then I was 18. And then at 22, I had went into the Army paratroopers. Stand up, hook up, shuffle to the door, jump right out, and count to 4, and all that. And so it had to be rah and all that. And then finally at 40, I said, well, I got tired of driving taxi and not making much money, and was doing a little bit of flying. And at that time, the VA, they had paid a lot of money, 90% for folks doing pilot training. And I'd started in 1963 taking my first lesson in a J3 Piper Cub, and because the money was funny and all that, and going different places. for the military. I did not solo until 1965, but eventually I did get my my commercial multi-engine, the instrument, and the flight instructor, and then on my own I got the seaplane rating and the helicopter rating, but I had to pay for those. I did flunk the glider rating. They said, box the wake, okay, I'm gonna, well, that wasn't the way. You have the tow plane and then you're 200 feet behind it, and if you turn, it turns to the right, then you get the outside wing and you go around and then, you know, all that. But I didn't box it the way the inspector, I didn't have to pay him, so he flunked me. And they gave me a pink slip. I don't know if they give a pink slip anymore. I didn't wear it very well, so. But that's the only one I had. I do have 7 ratings, but I would have had 8. But the last time I flew a helicopter was in last October. That cost me, and it was an R-44. I got my rating on R-22, and I took, let's see, 5 people. 2 of them were shipmates. One was a man, Gower Aviation, and let's see, Olympia, real nice man. He passed away. And a lady friend that I was seeing at one time, she was my first passenger, and she was my last because somehow I didn't do right on a on a helicopter thing, and I was out of control, but I recovered and I landed safely. But then I went with another instructor, and then I went with the examiner, and then I did do a solo again. But you know, when you're broke as an enlisted guy, so I don't know. But my love is aviation, and I want to do as much as I can because when I did retire in 1990, I served on 3 ships: a frigate, USS Kirk, a destroyer, Samuel Gompers, and a tender. What was it? Gee, I can't remember the name of it now. No, the USS Kirk, the Line McCormick was the destroyer, and then the Samuel Gompers was when it had women on it. And we'd go out to sea and go to Japan and go to the Philippines and the Indian Ocean and different places, and it was pretty good. I mean, I'd save some money and then I'd go back and all that. And I finally got my rating on a helicopter in 1990. But I don't know. It's been a real pleasure to do things with the military, and it's still in my bones because I still do the military burial stuff. Like yesterday, we went out to White Swan. We waited. We were supposed to be there at 5-something in the morning, but the folks didn't get there till 7-something. I said, oh my goodness gracious, I could have been having some beauty sleep or something. But as it was, you know, that's the way things go. But I still take people flying from time to time, and but I do a lot of things for the veterans and for the little church. Well, the church is not so small, but I go there, and whatever. I have taken several children flying for the EAA, Experimental Aircraft Association, for about 8 years. In 2007 was the glory day for me because I took a twin-engine Seneca, a 6-seater, and I took 24 children flying. I should have been 25, but I was kind of leery on the first flight, so I left one seat open. But after that, I said a little prayer, and then it came out okay. But other than that, I try to do things for the community, and
you're still part of the Yakama Warriors, correct?
Oh, yes.
I see you in the parades.
Yep.
Are there any other service groups that you're a member of?
Well, I do help out the Lower Valley Honor Guard.
Right.
And once in a while, the Marine Corps League. So, yeah, there's 3 organizations, but I do whatever I feel. If my energy is up, and sometimes you have physical problems and all that, and sometimes, wow, man, I'm ready. Don't mess with me. But then other times it's like, what's happening, Lord? Give me some strength and energy. Bless me today, please. So that's the thing. It's all good. I've been blessed, so if good Lord let me stay around for a while, I'll do what I can. If he says, time for you to go, well, thank you for letting me stay for a while. That's about.
That's what you got. Well, I want to thank you for joining me and telling me a little bit of your story today. We'll have some more conversations. We wanted to get this done before Veterans Day because I wanted to make sure to honor you and all of our veterans on this. We're going to run this hopefully for most of the month of November and get some of your stories out so people can understand what service is all about.
Yes.
How many years did you actually serve? How many total years did you serve?
They pay me for 20 years and 6 months, but actually I was in uniform with the reserve and the active and all of that, because on the reserve time, I don't know if they changed it now, but it was, if you're on a weekend or whatever, 4 hours was counted as a day. But, from 1959 to 63, reserve and active, and 63 to 70, and even that 10 years AWOL time I had to make up in the Army paratroopers, that was all active. And then back to the Marine Reserve, and then some active, and then the Navy. I think it was about close to 10 years and close to 11 years with the Marines again, active and reserve, but all 9 years and some weeks, I think it was, with the Navy, riding 3 ships and a barge, so 3 men and a baby. And if I finally retired out of Bremerton. So it's all good. I've been blessed, really blessed.
I want to thank you for your service.
Well, certainly. I'm glad that got this interview. So
absolutely.
I got a lot more to talk about, but I figured, well, better leave it alone. You're probably getting hungry, and so am I. So.
Right. We'll go get some lunch, and we'll have another conversation another day.
Okay.
Right.
That sounds good.
Thank you for joining me today, John.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you all for joining us today.
Let's get started.